What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to this video by TLDR News called How Iran Proves That America Needs Europe. So, I definitely think that here in the United States, there are a lot of us here that really think that we are just the best. We are the strongest, and we don't need anybody's help. And then we do something like this, create new war in the Middle East, and in the process we drag a lot of our allies into this. And I think for our own sake, we really need to hear more stuff like this about why the USA really does need Europe, our allies, and because honestly, it's not something that we really talk about here. And so today, I really want to check this out and learn more about this. So let's take a look.
For a long time, and even more so since President Donald Trump's return to the White House last year, Europe has endured Trump's complaints that it's a complacent continent hiding under America's security guarantee. For instance, last year, Trump effectively forced the hands of his NATO allies to raise defense spending to 5% of GDP by 2035.
Yeah, I mean, don't even get me started on how disrespectful, for one thing, Donald Trump has been to Europe, our allies. And I think starting this war with Iran is like a good example of that because he didn't consult our allies, and now a lot of European countries have been dragged into this whole thing against your will. And not to mention a lot of the stuff that Donald Trump has done, well, in the last year alone, right? With all the trade wars and tariffs, and not to mention the outrageous stuff that he just says off the cuff that is disrespectful. And as far as our spending on military goes, like he's critical of Europe about military spend, like it should be like the United States. Like everything should just be like the United States. No, here in the US, we spend an ungodly amount of our money on our military. Like pretty much the most money in the world. What? How can you possibly expect it to be reasonable for every country in the world to do that? We are we, I think the United States is known at this point for the massive overkill that we have in defense and military spending, and it is way over the top. Like we could, it's good to have a big strong military, that feels good, but it is so over the top. We could be using so much of that money in our budget for other things that the United States really is suffering in other ways. We just throw that money at the military. And yeah, the idea that we should expect everybody in the world to do that, or you're disappointing us, is such a ridiculous standard.
After criticizing member states for essentially not pulling their weight, Trump even sent shockwaves throughout Europe when he suggested that the US may forfeit Article 5 and refuse to defend a country being attacked if it was not reaching its spending target.
And like that kind of stuff, like what? Like where we are threatening our allies. We're threatening our allies. Not to I didn't even mention the whole Greenland thing. Like, yeah, so much madness has happened. Yeah, we're kind of lucky at this point that we still have allies.
NATO spending aside, Trump also started a trade war with the EU, threatened Greenland with annexation, has
Yeah.
slashed US support for Ukraine, and moved to push Kyiv towards an as yet uncertain peace deal.
Yeah.
Yet, as he now pursues the first open-ended military campaign of his presidency, he's found himself needing Europe's support, namely its military
Yeah.
bases, as well as its defense supplies and expertise.
Yeah, like I've been hearing a lot recently. I think here in the United States, we get our news, and then like in the rest of the world, you guys hear your news, and it's probably different from our news. Ours is probably, curated and biased and different, and yeah, there's so much stuff I think we're missing out on that our news doesn't even talk about. But one thing was how Trump was trying to lobby to get a lot of our allies, a lot of countries near Iran, to help us, like secure some of the shipping routes and that kind of stuff. And nobody wanted to help us, which was pretty embarrassing, I think. And then Donald Trump said, like, first he was begging for help to secure this, like the Strait of Hormuz, or however you pronounce it. And I think basically everyone said, no, we're not doing that. That we're not a part of this. And then Trump said, we don't want your help anyway. We don't need your help anyway. Like how Trump like was bashing the UK, right? For sending in like aid and help. And then Trump said like, we don't, too late. We don't want your help. Like, what? So anyway, I think this topic is actually really relevant about how we really do need to value Europe's help.
So in this video, we're going to take a look at why, despite Trump's constant Europe bashing, his war in Iran proves that America really does need Europe. First, and most obviously, the US needs access to military bases in Europe in order to reach targets in the Middle East in the first place.
Right.
For context, tens of thousands of US troops have been stationed across Europe since the Cold War, on around 50 bases.
This is such a great point, and this is probably one of the most obvious points about how the United States really needs Europe. Like, just the fact that you are allowing us to occupy European countries and have US military bases in Europe, that, like, we wouldn't be able to do so much of what we do without at least the cooperation of all our European allies. So, yeah, I guess it's just really, really frustrating as an American to see, like, I think Trump in particular talk so negatively about our European allies. It's really, really disappointing.
The bulk of which are concentrated in the center of Europe, primarily Germany, Italy, and Poland. And the US has used European bases in past Middle East offenses. After the September 11th attacks, European bases and logistics networks were essential for transporting troops, aircraft, and supplies to wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah, like the more I think about it, this is like such the perfect example of like how we couldn't do anything in Europe or the Middle East or without having bases. The fact that you guys allow US military bases, for one thing, that's everything. Like, none of this would even be possible.
Facilities such as the Ramstein Air Base in Germany and the Naval Air Station Sigonella in Italy became key hubs for airlift, refueling, and intelligence operations during these conflicts.
Right.
A few years later, in 2012, amidst violence following the toppling of Gaddafi in Libya, the US consulate in Benghazi came under attack, and 4 Americans were murdered, including the US ambassador. In response...
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That was 2012? Yeah, that was like 14 years ago. Can you believe that? That long ago. 2012 was 14 years ago. What the heck?
And as the situation in Libya worsened, a Marine Response Strike Team was permanently based in Morón, Spain, which hosts a US base that was used heavily during the Gulf War, enabling the US military to quickly react to any future attacks in the Middle East.
Yeah.
More recently, preceding Israel's 12-day war in Iran last year, the US again relied on bases in Europe to stage aircraft refueling and to move fighter and transport planes towards the Middle East.
This goes to show you how much restraint European countries have, because Donald Trump, if there were a bunch of European military bases in the United States here, you better believe Donald Trump would be using that as leverage, as a bargaining chip. And yet, from what I understand, like, Europe isn't using our military bases, like, for negotiating with us. You guys could easily kick us out and be like, no, get out of here. Like, we don't want you here. But that hasn't, I know there have been instances where countries like Spain, who have U.S. military bases, are refusing to allow like this military conflict to literally be waged from your country, but you're not straight up like kicking us out.
At the start of the US's current war with Iran, the US immediately requested permission for its military to use European bases to carry out strategic operations and strikes in Iran.
Exactly.
However, due to the question of legality regarding the US attack, not all European leaders have been so quick to allow the US to use bases in their countries.
Which makes, I think that has infuriated Trump, like that, like we should just be able to do whatever we want, whenever we want, and the rules don't matter. But this makes total sense to me. Like, we started this war with Iran and didn't, like, inform our allies or like, we literally dragged a lot of countries into this. So I totally understand if countries like the UK don't suddenly want to be the base of operations for this war that's purely like a US thing.
The Italian government said that any potential request from Washington would need to be carefully assessed. France authorized a temporary presence of American aircraft at certain bases, but reportedly secured guarantees that the planes wouldn't be used to carry out strikes on Iran.
Right.
Meanwhile, Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, who's repeatedly butted heads with Trump, namely after refusing to accept the US president's call for European NATO members to increase their defense spending, outright denied the US permission to use its military bases in Rota and Marron to attack Iran.
Right, 'cause, I mean, I don't know what kind of deal or what arrangement we have, but I think it's totally reasonable for countries who didn't sign up for this kind of thing to make that kind of, stand. I really see no issue with that.
Calling the US's actions an unjustified and dangerous military intervention, which prompted the US to withdraw 15 military aircraft from the base.
Like when Spain allowed us to build a US base in Spain, I don't think they ever imagined it be used for this purpose, like specifically anyway.
Trump slammed Sanchez's government as terrible and unfriendly over its decision to bar US military planes from using Spanish air bases to attack Iran, before threatening to cut all trade with Spain,
That's
the EU's
right.
fourth biggest economy.
That's right. And then Trump's response. Spain. This is how you know we're on the wrong side of so many of this stuff. Spain is just like, Spain doesn't, we don't want to go to war right now. We don't want to be the base of operations for your jet and drone strikes. And we respond by saying, you're canceled, we hate you, we're not doing trade with you, we're never working with you again. That's our response to that. Like, it just kind of shows you the two different approaches.
Trump also launched quite a personal attack on British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who did not allow US forces to use US bases in British territory, including Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, for offensive strikes on Iran because of doubts over their legality.
Yeah, and so much of this was just countries who didn't want to break like international war laws, like totally reasonable stuff, or at least, yeah. And on top of this, when we like worked with Israel or whatever to coordinate this attack on Iran, we didn't coordinate with any other of these countries in Europe, and we just expect you guys to immediately sign up, just immediately be okay with no notice at all.
Trump complained that the UK's denial of permission meant that US planes had to fly many extra hours, and belittled Starmer further, saying that he is not Winston Churchill. Well, the UK has since changed its position, allowing the US to use its bases for, quote, defensive strikes, and announcing that one of its 2 flagship aircraft carriers has been placed on high readiness.
Well, there you go. Like, given some time to, like, think about all of it, it seems like a lot of our European allies eventually want to help us, given a moment to, like, think about it one way or another. Despite everything Trump has said and done, like, it's amazing how incredibly loyal our European allies have been to us. And that's amazing to see, honestly. It's fantastic.
Trump responded with a jab at the UK and Starmer, posting on Truth Social that the carrier was no longer needed and that we don't need people that join wars after we've already won.
This statement is preposterous. It's outrageous. This is so bad. And the US president actually said this, that we don't need your help after the UK says they want to help. He's making fun of you, saying we don't need you. I don't know. And now, like, very recently, the fact that he's saying, like, we don't need people who want to join after we've already won. We have not. There have been so many statements from Donald Trump in the last few weeks saying, "Oh, we basically won. This is basically over. We've bombed the hell out of them. This is done." And then he'll turn around and say, "This is not done. This is not over. Iran is putting up a very strong fight. I don't know how long this will take. I don't really know what victory looks like." A lot of Americans have a huge problem with this war because we don't understand why we are doing this. I mean, the official reason is to stop Iran from developing nuclear bombs or something. And then, like, recently, I don't know if you heard, but a United States government official, the counterterrorism director, resigned. The U.S. counterterrorism official resigned. And he was a big Trump supporter. He resigned, saying that he doesn't support this war. This war makes no sense. The nuclear threat is totally bogus. I mean, so it just makes the reasoning for all of this sound totally pointless and wrong. And I think that's what a lot of Americans are starting to think.
Nevertheless, over the weekend and on Monday, B-52 bombers landed at the UK's military base in Gloucestershire. It's not just European bases at the...
Oh, so we made fun of the UK and said we're not gonna use it, and then the next day we used it. So
It's not just European bases that the US needs, though. It may also need European military resources. In a closed-door briefing this week, senior military officials told lawmakers that the US military might struggle to intercept every drone and ballistic missile attack unleashed by Iran across the Gulf, and acknowledged lawmakers' concerns about the burning through of said interceptors. Even Trump, who claimed that the US had a virtually unlimited supply of medium and upper medium grade munitions, said at the highest level we have a good supply, but we are not where we want to be.
So we basically I'm learning a lot about this today. Stuff I didn't know. So we jumped into this war unprepared and knowing that we would need Europe's help. And yet we turn around and make fun of Europe and say that you're bad allies, except you guys have been extremely loyal and gracious despite everything Trump has said. And it's... once again, it's amazing we even have allies at this point. That's amazing because, geez, looking at this from like an outside perspective, the United States seems crazy.
During last year's conflict with Iran, reports suggested that the US had used roughly 25% of its THAAD interceptor stockpile. And the heavy usage forced the US to temporarily freeze the transfer of some munitions to Ukraine in the weeks that followed. As such, the US is looking to its allies to help supply them with interceptors, most notably, and surprisingly enough, Ukraine.
This is so ironic. This is crazy. So we have been so reluctant to help Ukraine, criticized Europe, and then we desperately need your help to help save American soldiers' lives from missiles and drones and I don't know, you can't make it up.
Early on, after the Russian invasion, Ukraine sometimes used expensive missiles or even more expensive Patriot interceptors, which cost around $13.5 million, to knock down Russian drones and missiles. However, this proved economically unsustainable, so Ukraine adapted, using heavy machine guns, less expensive rockets fired by F-16s, electronic jammers, and new interceptor drones built by Ukraine.
Oh, wow.
Ukraine can now destroy most of Russia's drones, and the US now wants a piece of Kyiv's newfound expertise.
It's come full circle. We literally can never complain about helping Ukraine if Ukraine ends up saving us in this way during this war. Wow. That's funny how that works out.
According to Zelensky, who Trump once called a dictator with no cards to play, the US and other Gulf countries are reportedly exploring deals to purchase Ukrainian-made interceptors capable of destroying Iranian drones. Most recent reports say that Ukraine has sent interceptor drones and a team of drone experts to protect US military bases in Jordan. Although Zelensky has made clear that Ukraine's support is contingent on the fact that it doesn't weaken Ukraine's own defenses.
I had no idea about that. That is the darndest thing. And we are so lucky. Again, I just feel like we're so lucky that a lot of countries that we have, that are our allies, that we have disrespected, are still helping us. We are very lucky.
And that Ukraine should get more diplomatic clout and support from the US for its ongoing peace negotiations with the Kremlin. While Trump's entry into the war in Iran has drawn many comparisons with Iraq in 2003, one key difference is that then-President George W. Bush attempted to build a public case for the invasion and managed to pull together a coalition of the willing that included many European countries.
Oh my God, talk about... It's just so crazy to think about some of the presidents back then, like George Bush, and Iraq, and how he went about that. Say what you want about that, the reasoning behind that conflict, but the manner he went about it, informing the public why it's important, building a case, going to European allies and asking for help before starting the conflict. Compare that to today, where Trump literally just bombed one day, just bombed Iran and told the world, yeah, we did it. We're doing it. It's happening. And you better be on board or you're very bad. And that's how a lot of American citizens even feel about it. Like, we didn't have any say in this. And Trump even campaigned when he was running for president. He said he would not start new wars. So it's like, a lot of Americans are really upset with this too.
The same cannot be said for Trump's war with Iran, and if anything, the lack of outright European support highlights how much the US needs Europe.
Yeah.
Now, if you're one to binge watch our...
Okay. This was really good. Again, I think it is so valuable to see like a European perspective on the stuff that we are doing. That's very valuable. A lot of Americans don't bother to see it that way. So this video highlighted why what we're doing is very troubling, how we've mistreated our allies, how we're very lucky to have European allies, how we need Europe to have any chance in this conflict, even though you guys are very right to question why we're even doing this to Iran. Um, yeah, this was pretty eye opening. Oh my God. So, anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, especially if you're European and you have a perspective on all of this. That'd be really cool to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to European stuff that I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.